Hello, everyone. It has been a long journey to make this video happen. I spent the majority of my day in search of a beautiful spot in nature to do this video that didn't have industrial noise. And right now I'm settling for the gunshots in the background. There they go. Sorry. I'm living next to, or close to a, what are they called? Shooting range. So, sorry about that, but this is the best that I can do. It's better than the alternatives. So today I would like to speak about the full moon in Sagittarius and actually I want to really speak about the moon's nodes and another topic which I'll get into near the end. But there's a grand cross happening. So in my last video I spoke about Mars opposing Pluto, and they were both squaring the moon's nodes, okay? And so now Mars is progressing through Leo, and we have Venus, who's catching up to Mars. I've been watching them in the night sky, and she's the ruler of the moon's north node right now, and she will be perfecting her square to the nodes and her opposition to Pluto just 2 days after this full moon. And it is significant enough for sure to be included in the energy of this full moon. Yeah, so there's that going on. And I'm also going to explain another dynamic, and then I'll kind of try to wrap it all together as best I can. On the north node of the moon, we have Jupiter just culminated, just finished its cycle, and is now beginning a new one in relation to the moon's nodes. So I don't know how you all felt that. I certainly felt that very strongly. It was really about what is finishing, what can be finally made conscious in terms of how I am blocking myself from my own intuition and from cultivating a sense of confidence and newfound stability in me being a, I guess for lack of a better word, teacher. Like, I started putting out these videos, and this is a small piece of a larger puzzle that I am putting together in my life right now. And so, yeah, this last week, I felt it, and I'm curious if you did as well, and how so. I would love to hear from you if you feel like you would like to share. But what this can mean on a collective scale is really, how are we embodying our philosophical, cosmological truth, the values and principles that guide our life. We're coming into a new cycle now which is based upon this embodiment of that. And it's a subject that I'm very, very, very passionate about. And yeah, I'll get into more of that later. The other symbol that is connected to the new moon in a wide conjunction, but it still counts in my view. We have Eris Xena in the sign of Aries, and so she is just where Jupiter was before it crossed over the North Node. She is culminating her cycle in relation to the moon's nodes, and that cycle will be culminated once the North Node moves into Aries next month, and so on and so forth. And what I really want to get at here is I just want to briefly explain the mythology of Eris Xena. So she is the goddess of discord, and according to the myth, she started the Trojan War because she threw a golden apple into the crowd of a ball where some fancy ball was happening, and she had written on the apple, "To the fairest one," and it had caused all of the other goddesses to enter into conflict with one another in this conflict and competition for deciphering who was the fairest of them all, and somehow led to the Trojan War. What I really find very poignant about this is that the Trojan War was going to happen anyways. Eris Xena did not start that war. Basically, the conflict was inherent in the society, in the structure of that society, and Eris Xena simply just pointed it out, and it really, really resonates with me because just coming from a social work background where I would see the incongruence of ethics being played out by people in positions of power, like social workers, for example, and I would just simply point out that that's not okay, and that would start a conflict. I wasn't the person starting the conflict because the conflict was already there. The ethics were already being breached. And I think this story has very high value because more often than not, that is the case, right? The conflict is already there. And what happens when we name it is that we then can become warriors of justice, and that society often then points the finger of, you started this conflict. Anyways, it's really actually about justice. And so over the next period, when she's culminating her cycle in relationship to the moon's nodes, which is about bringing into conscious awareness our trajectory for the future, North Node, just pay attention to how that might be showing up. I'm going to point out that Eris Xena is in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Mars has just completed its exact opposition to Pluto and squared to the nodes. And then we have the other planetary body on the North Node, Jupiter, in the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus, and now Venus is approaching that exact same position that Mars was just in. So, in evolutionary astrology, when we're looking at this particular timestamp, what I'm seeing is that this must be integrated through the south node. The bottom line is that north node, and Erisina and Jupiter being there right now. That is the bottom line of what is propelling us forward into the future, is this embodiment of ethics, this standing up for justice. And with the Pluto square opposing Mars and now Venus, there can be very much a reliving of the not so nice parts of relationship, misuse, manipulation, abuse, abandonment, and we can really be noticing how those scenarios triggered us to leave our body, because that was the safest thing to do at the time, was to just spirit out. And yeah, I really want to be sensitive when I talk about this, because this is really some of the hardest parts about being a human. And for this to be integrated through the south node to therefore blossom in its new expressions, it's going to probably include a reliving of these dark, murky aspects of relationships. And so yeah, I just encourage you that if you're finding yourself in a situation where you need extra support, please seek it out. If you're not sure how to, please connect with somebody who might be able to, and I'll also put my email in the description. If you could be anywhere in the world, but if you're in a very complex situation and you're needing help, please just reach out and I will try everything I can do. Yeah, I'm not a magician, and realistically there's probably not a whole lot I can do that you can't, but sometimes it just helps to reach out. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. A way that so let me give an example, actually. This can play out like this. One partner has an unconscious desire which has caused the projection of unmet needs onto the other partner, creating issues in the relationship, obviously. If this is coming out, up and out into conscious awareness, or there is a reliving process that is so vivid that it just surfaces to consciousness, right now is an opportunity for that to be transmuted. So for that partner who was projecting the unmet needs onto the other, they might be able to now see that they can meet their own needs to the most possible, to the most highest degree possible. And they can get really clear about what to request clearly and clearly to their partner, so that it's not an unconscious projection, if that makes sense. And yeah, to do it in a transparent and authentic way. And this then causes that south node in Scorpio to achieve higher or new levels of expression, right? It will be the needs are still there, however, maybe now there's a bit more of a balance of how that person can Taurus provide sustenance for their own needs and then communicate authentically to have to present other needs to their partner in a conscious way. Okay. I'm gonna probably stop with that right now. Yeah. Another thing that I want to talk about is actually, one thing before that. This full moon is being illuminated by our sun in Gemini. And who is conjunct that sun in Gemini? Juno, asteroid Juno. Juno is our partnership asteroid, and so pay attention to receiving feedback from our partners. It will be communicated or expressed one way or another because Mercury, who rules the Sun and Juno right now, is conjunct Uranus and Vesta. So discussions around partner needing breathing space, but also wanting to, have also wanting to be able to come back to the home fire as well can be on the table. And it just adds complexity to what I already discussed about relationships. Or I guess maybe it adds clarity because we know what's happening. We can read these symbols and we can prepare for it, and maybe just be aware of what is coming our way. So the other thing that I really want to talk about. Oh, first off, I kind of planted some new moon seeds in the last video. And I just wanted to ask a couple of questions now that we have the illumination of the full moon. In the illumination of this full moon in Sagittarius, can we hear the Earth's truth? Via simply using our intuition and a willingness to listen, we can discover the Earth's truth. Now I want to get into a discussion about Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, which will remain there for a year and a half, and Jupiter's north node in the sign of Cancer, which will be there for a very, very, very long time for all of us. May I suggest that this symbolism is requesting a renaissance of the feminine. Collectively, this is a time of looking at ideologies, philosophies, and societal structures which violate natural law, as I spoke about in the new moon video. Are we seeing that the approach of less is more actually creates space for the new structure of security that we need? As I said before, these are insecure times. Most of us are questioning how we're going to get our basic needs met and collaborate with others to meet the needs that we can't meet on our own. So there's that, and then there's like another huge topic that I want to kind of dip my toes into with y'all, which is the inner children coming home. So how many of us were indigo children or sensitive children who had societal or familial constraints, basically pushing out those gifts, natural intuitive abilities? This is, I'm also like, referring to the archetype of Aries is the archetype of survival, is the archetype of where if there is something that threatens our survival, we will do anything not to have that happen. So if we are raised in a society where it is perceived, because as a child, we take everything personally. We can't help but do that because of developmental reasons. So yeah, if it's threatening our survival to maintain our intuition and have these sensitivities and be in our emotions and learn about them through direct experience, then we're going to ditch that as a means of survival. And then Taurus, Jupiter now in Taurus, is coming around to say, okay, and now we can ground back into our bodies and breathe, and we can take a pause, and we can take, maybe have a review of what we shed in order to survive. This is also pointing out that this dimmed our connection with the earth, ourselves, and one of the most precious gifts of life, communion with the earth. The North Node is sextile Saturn right now, and I really do see this as it's like a life-saving rope being tossed our way that has to do with developing the capacity to be our own inner parents to our own inner children. And that is a whole nother journey in and of itself, which is very Saturnian in nature, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. Well, it's the Saturn Capricorn axis, right? Mustering up our inner parent after all these years to ask our inner child, what do you need? So the natural world is demanding a renaissance of our conscious attunement to the earth and the embodiment of our souls. How will we facilitate and integrate Jupiter's north node in Cancer. It's ruled by the moon, so there's our hint. By routinely and rhythmically and consciously communing with ourselves and the earth, practicing our intuitive sensitivities, practicing communicating our cosmological truth in ways that other people can understand, practicing living our cosmological truth in a way that leaves room for everybody to have their own relative cosmological truth that works for them. And yeah, what is beauty to you? Bring it home and let it be your muse. This north node of Jupiter in Cancer is a huge subject, and I'm really excited to dive deeper into it. I feel very drawn to what that symbolizes for us all, and I'm going to take this opportunity to announce that I am in the final stages of making the last preparations for releasing my service to the world in an official way that everybody who wants to can access. My gifts that I have been put here to share, and I'm extremely grateful that my mind, body, spirit, nervous system is in a place where I feel very grounded and ready to share this with the world. And so I'm celebrating that, and it's been a long time coming. This has been a long journey, and yeah, so if you're listening to this point, thank you, and if you like my style and my approach to evolutionary astrology, I will let you know that, yeah, coming soon I will be offering one-on-one sessions where I will be providing support in a way that incorporates evolutionary astrology as well as energy reading. And yeah, I'm just very excited to make this offering and have that be my focal point for the beginning, and then I will be expanding into different projects. This conversation around the inner child and the inner parent is very dear to me, and if this is resonating with you, do know that I will be offering support pertaining to that whole very rich dynamic of life. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you at the next new moon.